Have you ever experienced the painful feeling of watching a friendship slip away despite your best efforts? Perhaps there was a moment when you felt that deep bond, that connection was unbreakable. But one day, something shifts. You might not even know exactly when it happened. A misunderstanding, a moment of silence, or just life pulling you in different directions. And suddenly, you find yourself standing alone, questioning everything. Was it something you did? Was it something you didn't do? Or was it simply the natural course of life? It's like the ground beneath you starts to feel unsteady. You want to reach out, to fix things, but the words don't come. Or maybe you've already tried, but it's like speaking to a wall. It's a confusing, painful feeling, loss mixed with regret, a sense of betrayal, or maybe just the ache of missing someone who used to be so close. What do you do when the person you once called your best friend is no longer there? How do you handle the void, the silence that replaces the shared laughter and long conversations? Do you hold on, or do you let go? This is a dilemma many of us face at some point in life, and today, we explore how to navigate through this emotional storm. You know, when we talk about pain, whether it's the loss of a friend or any other kind of suffering, it often feels like it comes from something external. Maybe it's the harsh words they said, or the distance that grew between you. But have you ever wondered why, when someone disrespects us, we feel so deeply hurt? It's as if the pain isn't just from their actions, but from something deeper inside us. In Buddhism, we are taught that suffering doesn't really come from the outside world. It's born from how we respond to things. The Buddha called this attachment, our deep desire to hold on to things, whether it's relationships, possessions, or experiences. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever felt like your world was falling apart when a friend drifted away? It's natural to feel that way. When we lose someone close to us, it's easy to feel like we're losing a piece of ourselves. But here's the truth that many of us overlook. It's not the loss that causes us suffering, but the attachment to the idea that relationships should stay the same forever. We cling to the belief that love, friendship, and connections should never change. This belief, this attachment, is what holds us in a cycle of yearning and pain. When we let go of these attachments, something incredible happens. We begin to experience freedom. True peace comes when we understand that everything in life, including friendships, is in constant flux. Things change, and that's okay. The ebb and flow of relationships are part of life's rhythm, and when we can accept that, we stop fighting against the natural course of things. We stop expecting things to stay the same, and we open ourselves to experience life as it is, without the burden of holding on. I remember a time when I couldn't let go of a friendship, thinking I was supposed to fight for it, to make it last. But over time, I realized that in trying to keep it intact, I was only creating more pain for myself. It wasn't about them. It was about my own attachment to an idea of permanence. When I finally let go, I found a quiet peace that had been missing for so long. That's when the real healing began. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson we all need to learn. Sometimes we need to let go in order to truly move forward. There's a Zen story that I think captures the heart of what we're talking about today. It's about a renowned monk named Hoshin, who lived in a small village. One winter, his closest disciple, a young man named Ryo, was sent to another temple to study. As the months passed, the bond between them grew, and Hoshin deeply missed Ryo's presence. One day, a letter arrived from the young man. The letter was brief, saying simply, "I will not return. I have found a new path." Hoshin read the words, and felt an intense wave of pain wash over him. It wasn't just sadness, it was a feeling of betrayal. His disciple had left him behind without any explanation, and that hurt deeply. For days, Hoshin wandered in confusion, unable to understand why Rio had gone. His heart was heavy, and the pain gnawed at him. He thought to himself, how could he leave me like this? How could he just walk away after all we had shared? But then, one evening, Hoshin sat by a small fire in his temple and stared into the flames. His mind was still restless, caught in a whirlwind of hurt and anger. But as he sat there, he felt something shift within him. It was as if the flickering flames were speaking directly to his heart. Slowly, he realized that he had been clinging too tightly to Rio. He had expected him to always stay, to be by his side, without understanding that life, just like the seasons, is ever-changing. In that moment of stillness, Hoshin understood something profound. The pain he felt wasn't coming from Rio's departure. It was his attachment to the idea of permanence that caused the suffering. With that realization, a wave of peace washed over him. Hoshin let go of his expectations, and in doing so, he found freedom. He allowed himself to embrace the change, and with that, the pain began to fade. You see, we often believe that the loss of a friend or the end of a relationship is a tragedy, and it is painful, no doubt. But just like Hoshin, we can learn to let go of our attachment to how things should be. The story reminds us that the true path to peace lies in our ability to accept change, to release our grip, and to embrace the flow of life. Because in the end, it's the letting go that frees us. The lesson here is so simple, yet so powerful. It's not the circumstances themselves that shape our lives, but how we choose to respond to them. We often get caught up in the pain of loss, believing that the world has wronged us. But what if the true challenge lies not in the departure of a friend, but in our attachment to how things should have been? When we experience the end of a friendship, it can feel like everything is falling apart. Our hearts ache and our minds race, trying to make sense of it all. But the message is clear. The suffering comes not from the loss, but from our resistance to it. When I reflect on the times I've felt deeply hurt by someone leaving my life, I realize that the pain was amplified by my anger and disappointment, emotions that were entirely within my control. The truth is, we can choose how to respond. We can hold on to the bitterness and pain, allowing it to define us, or we can let go and allow ourselves to heal. The choice is always ours. The story of Hoshin reminds us that life is in constant motion. Just as the seasons change, so do our relationships. We don't always have control over when people come or go, but we do have control over how we let it affect us. When we stop resisting change and embrace it, we allow ourselves the freedom to move forward without being anchored by the past. In your own life, ask yourself, are you holding on to something that's no longer serving you? Whether it's a friendship, a hurt, or an expectation, letting go can be the key to finding peace. When you release the grip of attachment, you make space for healing, growth, and a deeper connection with yourself. So the next time you face loss, remember that letting go isn't a defeat. It's the beginning of a new chapter. So what can we do with all this? How can we take these lessons and make them real in our lives? First, let's start with the most important step, changing the way we think. I know it might sound simple, but the truth is, everything begins with our thoughts. When we find ourselves hurt by the end of a friendship, we can easily get stuck in the loop of pain, blaming others, or holding on to anger. But if we want to feel free, we have to change that inner narrative. You don't need to fight against your feelings, but you do have the power to shift how you respond to them. If you're feeling abandoned, it's okay to acknowledge that pain. But then ask yourself, what is it that I'm really holding on to? What am I afraid of losing? When we look inward and begin to understand the root of our attachment, we can start the process of letting go. Remember, it's not about forgetting what happened or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about learning to accept that change is inevitable. And with that acceptance comes the freedom to move forward. No one else can give you that peace. You have to give it to yourself. Start by being kind to yourself. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a friend who's going through a tough time. I've been there, where the pain of losing a friendship felt unbearable. But when I finally learned to let go, to stop clinging to the idea of how things should have been, I found that the weight lifted. I found peace in the uncertainty, and that peace was empowering. So if you're struggling right now, I want you to know this. You have everything you need to heal within you. It starts with your decision to release the past, to stop letting it control your future. When you let go, you open the door to something new, something brighter. And remember, by letting go, you're not losing, you're freeing yourself. Trust in that. Now that we've explored these concepts, it's time to put them into practice. You don't have to wait for a perfect moment to start. Small steps can lead to big changes. The first thing I recommend is to start practicing mindfulness. Begin with just 5 minutes every morning, where you sit quietly and focus solely on your breath. It might sound simple, but when you focus on your breathing, you're training your mind to be present. You're giving yourself a moment to pause, to breathe, and to be aware of your thoughts without judgment. Over time, this will help you become more aware of how you react to situations in your life, including the pain of losing a friendship. When you notice that you're starting to feel the weight of your emotions, try taking a few slow, deep breaths. Notice how your body feels and gently bring your attention back to the present. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to respond calmly instead of reacting out of anger or fear. It's about creating space between what happens and how you choose to react. Another practice I suggest is journaling. Write down how you feel when a friendship changes or ends. Don't worry about making sense of it right away. Just let your thoughts flow. You'll be surprised how much clarity you can gain just by putting your feelings into words. And finally, be gentle with yourself. If you find yourself struggling, that's okay. Healing takes time, and there will be moments when it feels difficult. But every time you practice these methods, you're building resilience and learning to let go of the things that no longer serve you. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Take your time, try different approaches, and allow yourself the grace to make mistakes along the way. Each step you take is a step toward freedom. Now that we've talked about these deep and personal topics, I want to hear from you. How do you deal with the pain of losing a friend or facing someone who doesn't respect you? Have you ever tried applying any of the ideas we've discussed today, like letting go or shifting your mindset? What's been your experience with letting go of attachment? And how has it changed the way you respond to life's challenges? I know these questions aren't easy, but they're important. And by sharing your thoughts, you're not only helping yourself process these feelings, but also connecting with others who might be going through the same thing. I'd love for you to leave a comment below and share your story. It's a space where we can support each other on this journey. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. We have more to explore together here on Mind Path. I can't wait to continue this journey with you. Thanks for being a part of this community, and I'll see you in the next video.